Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for the last time and the last player reaction and player ratings live stream of the 2022-2023 season. It's finally over. The nightmare that is this season. Let's see if the full stop nightmare stops. We'll see how the summer goes and we'll see how next season goes. But the nightmare that was this season is finally over. And my God, was it a depressing day. In the first half, we should have conceded about 17 goals. Somehow didn't, because Newcastle did their best Chelsea impression. And then in the second half, we should have scored about 17 goals. And we did our best impression of Chelsea itself, because we just missed all of those chances. And also, I'm still so baffled as to how we didn't get a penalty. How much more handball do you need? I can't really understand that at all. But yeah, in the end, I guess on a positive note, we didn't lose. So that's something. The fifth point of Frank Lampard's reign, 9 games. I'm not sure if that's just Premier League or if that is also the Champions League games, the total 9 games. I'm not sure. But 9 games regardless, maybe just in the Premier League. A whole total of 5 points, which is brilliant. 1 win against Bournemouth, 1 draw against, today against Newcastle. Who was the other draw against?
Nottingham Forest.
There you go, Forest. Thank you, Bertram. See, this is where you're quizmaster. You just know these things. But yeah, it's a sad day. It's a sad day because it was another just sad performance, sad display. Really, the second half was better, to be fair, but we got a lot of sad, emotional send-offs, like Loftus-Cheek clearly waving goodbye. We got a lot of players that will leave coming on, and they wouldn't have come on the way they did if it. They weren't leaving, so that is a bit of confirmation, whether it's Kovacic, whether that's Pulisic, whether that's who else really, but a couple of others. I'm sure there's going to be plenty that will leave. Mason Mount not fit to be involved, but he was apparently looked very emotional as he walked down the tunnel, so at this point I have to expect him to leave as well. Kai Havertz came off, even though the camera focused on Loftus-Cheek, so we didn't really see Havertz come off, how he looked. But yeah, Bertram, I will start with you. I'm not sure. I feel like you're not on that many player rating streams. Usually you tend to be on more of the preview ones, but I could be getting mixed up. The season's finally over. Our worst season ever. Not in points finish and position finish. Oh, no, it is the worst points total, but it is not the worst positional finish in the Premier League, but it is literally our worst ever in the Premier League in terms of points, in terms of goals scored. It was just a nightmare from start to finish. It wasn't great under Tuchel, even though he still got us the points and saved us from relegation, to be fair to him. Then we went to Potter, had a half-decent 10-game run where we didn't lose, won most of the games. That was quite good. And then everything just went from bad to worse. Just before the World Cup, he didn't pick up again after the World Cup. We got Broja doing his ACL in a fucking friendly or test game before coming back after the World Cup. Potter gets sacked, Lampard comes in, things get even worse somehow. And here we are. It's finally over. And on one positive note, Pochettino has, according to Matt Law, finally actually signed his contract at Chelsea. God knows how long it took, or God knows why it took this long. But at least, that's done, I guess. But thoughts, feelings? Is it sadness? Is it relief that the season is over? Well, what is the overwhelming feeling at the moment, mate?
Relief, actually. I think even in 15-16, which was one of my first years supporting Chelsea, was... Even though it was bad, we just come from winning the title. And we finished 10th. Even though it was bad, I still had feelings in it. Every time we played, I was still nervous. I still liked most of the players and stuff. Almost this season, it feels like the players since around maybe Potter sacking, or even before that, around maybe even that Brighton game, the first time we played them. It's almost as if they hadn't cared because, we haven't been able to go anywhere in the league. So they just sacked that off since the World Cup. And, if they don't want to put the effort in, I almost don't want to put the effort in watching them. So it's been really difficult to fall in love with the club. I think the Dortmund game, that small run we had there, it did wonders. But relief, it's over. And for those who don't know, that I'm from Denmark. I'm from the second largest city. It's a bit of a tangent, but last season, I support one of the most decorated Danish teams. The second biggest city. We had the same thing. We came back from the winter period. Everyone was talking about, we might finish top half and stuff like this. Sacked it off. We won 1 game. We survived relegation from, the last day of the season. We'd survived, and it wasn't even because we'd won. Another team had lost, and I remember the final day was like this. We were secure. We looked at most of our players and thought, we have to ship loads of them off. Terrible feeling around the club and stuff like this. But since the summer came back, some new signings got out the deadwood. Everything was better again. Mood changed. So even though it does look bleak now, Chelsea fans, I was there last season. Get some of the players out. Trust me, not all of our players are bad. It's just the mood around it. It's going to get good. So pure optimism from my side, but definitely relief that it's over. And I can't wait to start supporting the real Chelsea again. So thank God it's over.
There you go. I do wonder if it has anything to do with you obviously also getting older, the fact that you cared a little less this season than you did back then. I don't know. Just the older you get, the more things you have going on in your life that you have to worry about as well. You can't sit there and worry about other things too much. But, I mean, yeah, appreciate the input, especially, do you want to tell the people what the club that you're supporting in Denmark is called?
It's called AGF. Jack Wilshere played there last season. Same story.
But it's not Aarhus, is it?
It is Aarhus. It is Aarhus. Yeah.
My knowledge of Danish football is somewhat limited. We see Copenhagen in the Champions League every now and again, but otherwise we don't really hear much about it. Let's be honest.
You're not missing much.
There you go. Sorry, Dams. Let me get to you. Similar question. What's the overwhelming feeling now that the season is done? Just happiness, relief that it's over, or sadness about quite how bad it has been, or what is the main feeling at the moment, bro?
Yeah, big up Laurenz, big up the chat as well. Just honestly, thank God the season's over, bro. Honestly, for me mentally, I was checked out from the season. I think when we sat put up, and that's when I was like, yeah, let's just forget it at this point, because I knew that we were going to go out to Real Madrid. I knew Lampard coming in, a bit of hope there, but I didn't really expect much. And then, just honestly glad it's over. And I genuinely, from my mind, couldn't think that it couldn't get any worse from 15-16. I genuinely thought we wouldn't never in my lifetime have a season like that again. And 22-23 served up this rubbish for us. So yeah, just glad to see the back end of this season, because I was saying on Charlie's stream earlier, I don't remember any sort of highlight from this season at all, a positive highlight from this season at all. Maybe a handful of performances, solid performances we've had this season, but even then, I can literally tell you maybe 2 or 3 instances where we actually played really, really well. So, yeah, just honestly, bro, just glad it's over. And to be honest, and yeah, I could just enjoy the summer without Chelsea stressing me out. I can enjoy life a bit more now over the summer. Make use of the UK sun that's out now, even though we don't see much of that. So, yeah, let's roll on next season, I guess, see what Poch has to cook up for us.
Yeah, let's see what he has got cooked up for us. I mean, Adash, as I take it to you, I've put it on screen what I touched on earlier already. Chelsea ended the season in 12th. Had we won, we would have finished 11th because Palace drew against Forest. At some point during the game, because we were drawing and Palace were losing to Forest, we were actually back in 11th. Not that it would have mattered, but in the end, we finished 12th on 44 points, a lowest finish in terms of position since 1994, lowest ever points total and goals scored in Premier League era since 1992-93, I guess. And the furthest we've ever finished behind the champions in terms of points as well. So similar question as to the other boys. What's the overwhelming feeling? Just glad that it's over, or anything different?
Glad it's over. It's just been so mentally taxing, I feel. I think all of us can agree, whichever individual players you support, whoever you want to do well. And I think regardless of any other circumstance, it's just been a mentally taxing season for all of us. Just that constant, today, from the moment we kicked off, I just knew Newcastle were going to score. And I haven't had that feeling in any other season. It hasn't been this bad for me, at least as a fan. And so I think, yeah, just relief it's over. I saw somebody tweeted, Kieran Trippier is the 3rd highest goal scorer at Stamford Bridge this season. I think that just sums it up perfectly. He's tied as being the 3rd highest goal scorer at Stamford Bridge. So only 2 players have scored more than 1 goal at Stamford Bridge.
That can't be true, though. No,
I think Sterling's got more than 1, and someone else probably. Yeah,
Kai's definitely.
There's got to be more than 2 players that have scored more than 1 goal at the Bridge.
Yeah.
We've only scored 38 goals this season, haven't we?
Palace, Havertz definitely scored more. Obviously, Sterling definitely scored more. I mean, I don't know how many others did, to be fair.
Bro, the fact that you're thinking about it makes it true.
Yeah, because no, I know a lot of people have scored a lot more goals than this, but I'm not sure, obviously, about all of them. Have they? I mean, I can bring this up as well. Chelsea's top goal scorers. I mean, to be fair, when you look at it this way, I guess it could be true. Wow, that is so bad. I mean, the top goal scorer is obviously the Sterling one. Could it potentially still count as his? I think his shot was going wide, so then it will count as an own goal. If his was on target, then it might be his. But like that, it finishes all competitions, not a single player hit double figures. Havertz and Sterling finish on 9, Joao Felix on 4, Gallagher, Mount, Jorginho and Aubameyang on 3, Kovacic, Koulibaly, Chilwell, James and Fofana on 2, Pulisic, Zakaria, Broja, Badiashile and Mudryk on 1. Mudryk didn't even score 1. And what does Frank do after his last dreadful game where he missed the sitter? The thing he needs is not even see the pitch. Yeah, Frank, brilliant man management. That absolutely wonderful. But yeah, seemingly, Adash, I think you might actually be right. Wow. Hey, I mean, if we included opposition players, I'm sure there's many more that scored more than one goal at the pitch. My days. This is shocking. But when you see that, I'll take it back to you, Bertram. That was not what I wanted to do. When you see that, our defense wasn't always great, and we, especially under Frank, we definitely had some dreadful defending, including for today's goal. Literally, I was like, Azpi, what are you doing? Chalobah literally told him to cover the guy that ended up crossing the ball. I can't remember who it was. Azpi does nothing. Thiago Silva was like, yeah, I'm going to let Gordon run and not do nothing about it. It's like, what is happening? Even Azpi and Thiago Silva, the two most experienced ones, don't understand how to defend anymore. But the big problem is Marcandi been scoring, and whether that was under Potter, whether that was under Lampard, whether that was under Tuchel early on in the season, that was the problem. And I still don't think it's a case of, you put a good striker there and it fixes it. But it's a problem that we've not just had for this season. There was a stat I saw a couple of days ago where over the last 3 seasons, we've only won 1 game against Big Six. Like, it's insane at this point. Like, it's literally insane how bad we are. And it's not just this season. It's been a process of getting from great with a little bit of a spike in the middle of winning the Champions League where no one really understood how we made that happen. And a lot of dreadfulness around that, really.
Sorry, what was the question? Just my overall thoughts?
Yeah, just in terms of, do you agree that a lack of goals was the main issue for the overall?
I think when we look at these last couple of games, I think just everything. That run with Potter, I think goals was definitely the issue. I still can't believe that even that far into the campaign, we had the 3rd best defense in the league. For me, it makes no sense. To be honest, looking at this, I'm surprised Havertz and Sterling even scored 9 goals. I genuinely can't believe that, but fair enough. I think you were talking about a striker earlier, about that not solving our goal scoring issues exponentially.
Not all of them. I'm sure it would.
Not all of them. I was looking at the game today, and the amount of times Mudryk and Sterling were trying to cut it back, and just no one was in the box. I think in the second half, I can almost count 5 or 6 different occasions where Mudryk was looking for someone in the box, and the 6-yard box was just empty. I think if you'd had an Osman there, for example, just to put someone up there, even an Ivan Toney, even Armando Broja, I think it would be different. If we only had a striker on the bench who we signed for Molde, for example. I think goal scoring will be our issue for a long time. I think this season as well, a lot of it comes down to luck. I've almost genuinely never seen a team as unlucky in front of goal as we have been this season. So I think my general take about this season in general is just you can't really write anyone off because of it. So I'd be excited to see what we have in store for it next season, but we need a striker. And I think all the issues we have, it's quite, it's like sitting on the fence saying it, but we can't really see what the problems are based on these last couple of months. I think these last couple of years where we haven't had a 6, where we haven't had a striker, a bit more telling. So I think based on these last couple of months, you can't really say what our issues. But goal scoring, if it's the main point of football is to score goals. So of course it's an issue. But I think buying a 9 and just training, having a run with a manager will fix most of those problems.
See, I agree, because that's a good point. We need to just work out our own tactics, because when even going back to Tuchel last season, when you had Lukaku, we had the striker up front that would finish most of those chances when he got them. But when we played with Lukaku, we basically never created anything. And then when we played with Havertz, we created more, but then there was never anyone there to finish them. And that was our problem. We never managed to create if the 9 doesn't drop and help create, but then the 9 doesn't have enough time to be back in the box in the right position. Or we can also say Havertz doesn't have the instinct to then get back into the right position, whichever way it is. Difficult to really put a finger on it. So whatever way you want to fix that, whether it's you still keep the 9 dropping, but then someone else from midfield or from the wing keeps filling that gap for him because he had to drop to help create, or you leave the striker up top to be there and finish the chances, but then you need someone else to help you actually create the chances. And I'm not saying that Havertz created all of them. That's not what I'm trying to say. But we don't fill positions between lines, and Havertz is the only one that does. And if you don't have Havertz dropping into that position between the lines, we don't get the ball into the dangerous areas of the last third. That's our problem, and it's been our problem under Tuchel. It's been a problem under Potter. It's been a problem under Lampard. Whenever we didn't play with Havertz, we never created anything. When we played with Havertz, we never scored anything. It's just a constant cycle that's never stopped. And it's just mind-boggling, really. I mean, Aman, appreciate very much the super chat. He says, crazy stat. Since Tuchel, since he was sacked, I guess, we had 34 points in 32 games, only 2 points above the relegation zone, meaning the win against Bournemouth saved the multi-billion-dollar club from relegation in 32 league games. Not sure about next season. I mean, there is no 32 league games, so you can't really say it like that Bournemouth won us, saved us, because you can also say, the win under Potter against Leicester or against Leeds. Any individual win was that decisive last 2 points, I guess. But it's bad. It's bad. I mean, Dams, on goal scoring, on the super chat, what can you even say anymore, man?
Yeah, I mean, like, goal scoring has obviously been an issue for us ever since, in my opinion, since we burned off, I guess, Pedro and Diego Costa, and obviously Willian that season where obviously we won the league. We scored goals for fun. Even though we're playing a quote-unquote defensive system, we still managed to score at least 2 or 3 goals at every single game. But yeah, I think since then, the recruitment hasn't obviously been good. The systems that we've been playing haven't accommodated for the players that we brought in. And I know obviously Hazard was there in Sarri's season, but we literally had Hazard in his prime, like in his prime years, and he carried us to a top 3 finish as well as the Europa League that season. So that's just a freak of nature, to be honest. And since then, we just haven't bought well, we haven't recruited well, and yeah, it goes on. Like we've seen so many times on analysis on say like Sky Sports, and I'm sure you guys have your own sort of like analysis in respect to the US and Austria as well. But like they probably say the same things in terms of like Chelsea's recruitment hasn't been good enough in terms of buying goal scorers or even addressing the attacking midfield situation as well, where we create chances. I mean, like Newcastle created so many chances today from all over the pitch, and yeah, we've been crying out for that for ages. So yeah, goal scoring has definitely been a problem. I think it's 38 goals we scored this season from 38 games, I believe. I think it was a stat I heard on the TV when I was watching the game, and I think we've conceded 48 goals, I believe, and that's not too bad, to be honest. I think other than Newcastle and City, I think we've got the best defense after that, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere around that, basically.
Still okay. I can
get
the table up in a second.
I definitely know we've got better defensive record than Arsenal, or we still do, or we're neck on neck in terms of that. So yeah, it's clear to see the goal scoring has been an issue. And then yeah, hopefully Pochettino in the summer can work some of his Spurs magic.
So Arsenal and United conceded less than 5th best. Wait. So
Yeah.
City conceded 30. Let me bring it up on screen so we can actually talk about it rather than just waffling along. So this is goals against. Let me zoom in a little bit. Goals against 33, 43, 43, Newcastle 43, and we have 47. So there's still a few now with Brentford, Aston Villa, Liverpool just more. But these guys, so I don't know what position we are in. 1, 2, 3, 4,
About 6th or 7th.
5. So we'll put a 6th. Yeah,
which actually isn't too bad considering the season we've had and where we
also conceded 4 goals last
game.
So before last game, it was better.
Exactly, and obviously Unai Emery's come into Villa. He's done really well as well. He's known to be a defensive coach as well, and he's absolutely smashed it there as well. So yeah, let's just hope Poch can work his magic in the summer and bring in the players that we need to and get attacking football fully back in flow at Chelsea, man. Because goal scoring is definitely one of the main reasons why we're in this position this season, as well as obviously other reasons as well.
Yeah, I mean, I brought up another set of stats. Chelsea's players with most assists in all competitions. Mount has 6, Sterling and Chilwell have 4, Ziyech 3. which is even crazier. Like Ziyech, even though Frank used him actually quite a bit towards the end, but only ever as a sub with, I think, one exception. The fact that he's like in the top 4 of assists is also insane. Ruben, Cucurella, Kovacic, Silva, Pulisic, James, Mudryk, and Enzo have 2. Gallagher, Kai, Koulibaly, Aubameyang, Broja, and Kante have 1. I mean, the fact that Silva is even mentioned here in the 2s is crazy as a centre back. But it's rough. It's also interesting, everyone always says, "Oh, Mount is so not creative." What about all the other players then? But yeah, unfortunately, I probably have to get used to the fact that Mount will leave. So no point me trying to bite back at Mount haters anymore, really. Adash, when you see this, whether it's the goal scorers, whether it's the assisters, like that's just problems everywhere, isn't there? But yeah, shout out Isak. I did get my prediction right, at least something.
Yeah, it's just so disappointing. I think, yeah, the assists, I mean, Mount is gone, I think, at this point, as much as I don't want that to be the case. I think it's just the reality. He's gone. But the fact that he was our biggest assister in his worst season, in our worst season, I think just says it all. And I mean, ironically, I think Lewis Hall could have been top if any of our attackers had like half of a foot that was actually of use.
That would be an interesting stat to see how many like the missed XG of I don't even know how to word the sentence I'm trying to say, but how many possible assists were there in terms of how big the XG was that players missed? Because you mentioned Hall, but how many other players does that same thing apply to across the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this just perfectly sums up our season. Not only are the numbers underwhelming, but so are the names. I think it's just, yeah, it just is what it is. But now move upwards and onwards. I'm not, like the super chat mentioned, I'm not too confident for the summer. I think we're in for a shock that we aren't going to be happy about necessarily. But yeah, let's see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, the next season I'm a little bit less pessimistic about, but the summer I fear that Chelsea fans might be in for quite a bit of a shock and a reality check in terms of what kind of players we can and will attract. People talk about all these great strikers that we might sign, whether it's Osimhen or Ivan Toney is now kind of out of the picture, Kolomwani, or God knows who else they're talking about, Vlahovic, Kane. None of these guys are going to come, in my opinion, but we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Let's, one last thing I'm going to bring up before we talk about just the players, I guess. Where is it gone? There it is. We had a little tifo for Azpi before the game. Unfortunately, you can't really see the Azpi, which was supposed to show up here. I'm not sure if they took the picture too early or whatever. But yeah, we'll just call you Legend instead of Dave. I much prefer that to Dave because I always found it a bit ridiculous. Stupid English people not being able to learn other languages. Just say Azpi quiet. It's not that difficult. But anyway, a bit ridiculous because we don't actually know if he's leaving. But I guess even if he doesn't, we'll still call him a legend. Of course we do. As much as I praised him against United, not that much praise for him today, although I'm not sure how many players I do have a lot of praise for today. I will be honest. Let me bring up the lineup on screen and we'll just get through it. I'm not going to try to sit here for 3.5 hours and discuss this, but obviously we do have to discuss it. I'll start with you, Adash. Kepa in goal. Don't think he can do anything about the goal. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I do think he could do a bit better, but it's difficult when 2 defenders just do absolutely nothing because the goalie is like, well, when do you know what you need to do, right? Because if Thiago Silva just has the correct position, stands in front of Gordon like you should do, then it's an easy clearance. So if Thiago Silva clears it and you see Kepa flying out behind it trying to save it, then you're like, what the fuck is Kepa doing? But because obviously Thiago Silva is there, you're like, well, why is Kepa not coming for it? So I don't really know what to make of it. He obviously touched it, so then I guess he can also save it, but there's part of bad luck is involved as well. Certainly more Azpi and Silva to blame than Kepa, in my opinion. But he did make a couple of other good saves. That 1v1 against Almiron, even if Almiron could have made it a little more difficult than he did. Because he made a good amount of saves, I guess, let me bring up the exact stats. I don't know how many saves he actually made. Have I got the completely wrong games here? Where is it? Lineup. Everything's taking long today. 3 saves. Obviously conceded 1 goal. I don't know if any of them were enough to give him like a 7. So I would say 6.5. Would you go along with something like that, Adash, or would you go with something different?
I'll go a little bit lower. I'll go for a 6. I think, yeah, could have done better for the goal, but certainly not the foremost to blame. There's a lot of other people who share much more blame for that goal. Yeah. Well, other than that, just kind of average in terms of distribution. Made a couple of decent saves, but nothing that I wouldn't expect from him, or nothing that's kind of like an extraordinary save almost. So I'll give him a 6. I'll give him a 6.
Fair dues. Bertram, you're a goalkeeper. Do you think he should have done better for that goal? Or how would you kind of explain that in terms of when a defender makes a mistake, how is a goalie kind of supposed to react to that? Especially because obviously a goalie has to kind of look at the ball. It's difficult for the goalie to look at the ball and also see if his own defender is in the wrong position or whatever.
Yeah, no, I think you shouldn't blame him for the goal. I think there's definitely a difference between mistake and being able to do better. And stuff like this happens so fast. You look at where Gordon shot it from. I think, he was wide enough. Gordon put it in like almost the only area he could put it. So it was a decent finish.
Oh no, I agree. I can't do anything once Gordon touches it. The only thing I could debate is because Gordon was just at the edge of the 6-yard box. Could Kepa have kind of jumped out for it? As they sometimes do for low crosses?
But
He've tried to do that.
He could, but professional footballers, in my experience, whenever I play with someone who's better than my level, if I try to preempt passes or shots or something, they just a professional footballer is so good. So I think was it Isaac St. Maximin perhaps? If he'd preempted it, he might have just shot. So I think as it happens that quickly, I don't think he has anything to do. I think you'd need to react, and I think he reacted well. So I'd give him a 6 personally. I think he was decent today. And the issue is, I think he's a decent goalkeeper, a good goalkeeper. But if we want to, for the summer, if we want to be a serious club and compete again, we need someone else.
There you go. Dums, 2 6s for Kepa so far then. Along with my 6.5. What would you give him, and what did you make of the goal?
Yeah, I agree with what the lad said, to be honest, about I don't think Kepa was that much to blame for the goal, to be honest. I think it was more sort of Azpi, Silva and Chalobah who could have dealt with it much better, in my opinion. I mean, Kepa did get a touch from it, but like who scored again? Gordon, wasn't it? Yeah. Gordon was literally like a few yards out, and it's hard to make that sort of save, to be honest. So and yeah, like Bertram said, if we want to be back to where we were, we need a level of like Courtois back at our club, to be honest. And that's sort of the bar that I'm looking at, because I think currently at the moment he's probably the best goalkeeper in the world in terms of, that's just my opinion anyway, from this season. So yeah, we basically need sort of someone like him if we want to be back to where we.
Although I do think that Courtois with the ball at his feet has serious issues with that. So on the line, true. And in terms of saving shots, I think I agree with you. He's the best. But as an overall package, because he's really not good with his feet, I'd probably put Alisson there still. It's difficult to say, obviously, where you put Neuer because he's been injured for the last 6 months. But it's a tough one. I do agree that we need a new goalie, but what I'd find really annoying is if we still keep Kepa and make him number 2 again. Like, that would just annoy me. Where I'm like, you made him already number 2, then you signed a new player who had an incredible purple patch, all of a sudden became a bit shit after the Africa Cup, as seemingly half the Senegal squad did, whether it's Mane, Koulibaly, Mendy. I don't know what they did to these guys in the celebrations of the Africa Cup. I don't know what happened there. But if now we go back to having Kepa as number 1 for a season and then he goes back to number 2, that's just ridiculous. Like, find a way to get him gone. If you need to, terminate the contract, because you can't just sit there and pay 150k for a backup goalie again. We already did that for 2 years, and we were constantly saying how we need to let him go, and we still never have. Like, there has to be a limit to it.
But I do think that, having Kepa as a 2, if he does accept being a 2, then I don't think it's a bad option having him as a 2. But obviously,
just given the wages that he's on. That 2, though, don't you think?
So what was that, bro?
He just earns too much to be that 2. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Obviously, the wage is a big factor in it. But I think generally, as a number 2, I don't think he's that bad to have as a number 2. That's only if you can accept being a number 2. But
otherwise he'd be great. No, I agree with that. But unfortunately, the wages is an issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but did you agree with the 6? Yeah, sorry, bro.
Yeah, I agree with the 6. Yeah, I'll go with the 6. Yeah.
Fair dues. You know what, Dams? I'll stick with you. Let's just get to Thiago Silva. Obviously, he's confirmed again that he's staying and how much he loves Chelsea. And Thiago, we love you back. Unfortunately, the defending for that first goal was shocking. Otherwise, I can't really complain about him too much, I guess. His passing accuracy was 90%, not dreadful. And I mean, he won 0 out of 1 tackles, ground duels 2 out of 4, error duels 3 out of 3. It's weird because in the first half, Newcastle had loads of chances, but it seemed like none of our players could do anything about them because they were just all over the shop. In the second half, other than that one shot where Newcastle hit the bar, Newcastle didn't do anything. So it's like in the first half, we couldn't defend. And in the second half, we didn't have to defend. So I'm willing to go quite low for these defenders because I feel like in the second half, you barely had anything to do. And in the first half, none of you did anything. So, and he was one of the main culprits for the goal, in my opinion. So I'm thinking something in the direction of like a 4. But what were you thinking, Dams?
Yeah, obviously shout to Thiago Silva as well for winning Player of the Year for us.
True.
He's been a shining light for us this season, to be honest. And like, God knows how many goals we would have conceded if it wasn't sort of for him. We might have been on, instead of 40, it might have been like 68 or something without him. So, but yeah, just based on today, I didn't think it was one of his best performances. I agree with you in that sense. Obviously, at fault for the goal. Some of his passing was okay, I guess, as well. He was switching it here and there as well. A few passes into midfield as well and attempted to attack us as well. Wasn't too bad, but we've definitely seen better Thiago Silva and stuff. And yeah, I'll probably I'll probably give him a 5, to be honest.
Fair enough. Adash, I'll take it to you. A 4 from my end, a 5 from Damesh. What would you give Thiago Silva on the day?
Ooh, I was going to be a little bit harsher. I was going to give him a 3.5 because yeah, firstly, at fault for the goal, in my opinion. I think just kind of caught ball watching, just kind of caught gazing, and he was just like at a standstill almost because the ball started out centrally and then it went out wide. And after it went out wide, Thiago Silva just stopped moving. And so I think in that sense, I just think
he lost sight of Gordon. I just think he thought Gordon was also waiting for the ball behind him, but he wasn't.
Yeah. And then also just saw him have a couple of like wayward passes, just didn't look fully into the game. Obviously, player of the season, so this isn't any slight on him or the season that he's had or the recognition that he rightly got. But yeah, I think today was not a good day, but yeah, still love him.
Yeah, of course we do. Everyone can have a bad game, especially nowadays. Like towards the end of this season, I'm not going to crucify any individual for having bad games because fucking the whole team was bad constantly. So, you know, it's difficult to not be bad when everyone around you is bad as well. Bacham, a 3.5, a 4, and a 5. What would you give Thiago Silva?
I give him a 5 as well. I think mistake for the goal, definitely under par, but it's not like we lost like 5-0. So I think someone said in the chat as well, Azpi, that he looked tired. I think he looked tired as well.
He was rested the last game, though.
Yeah, I think
he shouldn't really look tired, as much as he's old, but like
I just think the whole season has it's taken a toll on most of our players. So I think that's why. I hope we don't sell him to Al Nassr, so I'd give him a 5, I think.
No.
Fall for the goal, but it's not like he fell completely through.
Fair dues. Overall, that leaves us at a 4.375, which obviously we round up to a 4.5, which it shall be. Let's get to Chalobah. I guess I could already put Fofana down here because Chalobah was replaced by Fofana in the second half. I'm not going to sit here and say it was purely because Chalobah came off for Fofana that all of a sudden we were doing much better defensively, but we most certainly were doing much better defensively in the second half. So, Bertram, I'll let you start on this one. Do you think this is a case of Chalobah came off and having Fofana on and also Silva push over to the left, maybe helping Lewis Hall, did play a part in us being more defensively solid? Like, do you think Chalobah was really bad? I don't really, honestly, I barely noticed Chalobah in the first half. Like, when I look at his stats, they're not great, but they're not bad. Ground duels, 3 out of 3. Tackles, 1 out of 3. Okay, but these tackle stats are always a bit weird. Passing accuracy, not amazing at 79%, but like, that's not the decisive factor in us, being bad defensively, though.
I think as well, he was part of quite a disjointed defense in the first half. Almost lost count the amount of times that it was completely open. So I think it's not, only his fault that we weren't as solid defensively as we were in the second half. I think it's also down to Newcastle not, almost wanting to attack with the same amount of prowess. But I think it definitely had an effect when Fofana came on, even though he's known to be quite rash, as we saw, unfortunately, on Thursday as well. So I think Silva, for my money, was better than Chalobah, so I'd give him a 4.5, even though the stats don't say that much as well. I don't think it was his best game, but I don't think it was his last game as well. But For me, for my money, I'd give him a 4.5.
So you think he was worse than Thiago Silva, even though he wasn't necessarily at fault for the goal because that was from the other side and not really with him to do with him?
I think so, because it might just be Thiago Silva tax, me being more trusting of his defending. But I think he did look quite shaky. It could have something to do with the fact that he was part of a quite disjointed defense. And I know there are 3 other defenders as well, and some midfielders who aren't helping him. But nevertheless, he does share at least 25% of the overall picture there. And I thought Fofana was better when he came on. So I still think Thiago Silva did have more time to redeem himself, given that he played the whole game.
I guess that is a fair point. If Chalobah only played the first half and we were dreadful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second half, we almost didn't have, I can't remember seeing Kepa pretty much. Yeah, I almost couldn't remember seeing Kepa. And we still almost lost, which is impressive. So I'd give him a 4.5, just under Thiago Silva, under par as well.
All right, fair dues. Adash, what about you? I think Badger makes a good point. As much as it's maybe harsh on Chalobah, and we don't know how the second half would have gone had he just stayed on. But fact of the matter is he only played in the half where we were really bad defensively. And so what rating does that end up for you in, considering you gave Thiago Silva 3.5 as well?
Yeah, I would actually go a little bit high. I'll go for the same rating. I'll go for 4.5, but I'm a little bit more positive outlook, I guess, because I didn't think he was too bad. I think it was a lot of kind of like tactical instruction, because he was basically man-marking one of Almiron or Isak for most of the first half. I saw whenever Almiron kind of drifted centrally and drifted,
he was definitely not supposed to be man-marking. I'm going to tell you that much, though. Frank Lampard doesn't understand how man-marking works.
Well, then in that case, that would leave Thiago Silva exposed. But I don't think. But he was like following him extremely far infield, so I don't fully think it was just him kind of like running around. Also, he had a good challenge on Isak when they were like one-on-one. It was kind of like a counter-attack situation, and he was able to get the ball off of Isak when he was running towards goal. So I think, yeah, I'd probably go for 4.5. Definitely not his best performance, but wasn't I guess at fault for the goal like solely his action wise. And yeah, not too bad, I guess.
Fair enough, Doms. 2 4.5s for Chalobah. Would you go along with that too, or do you thinking of something different?
It's a tough one with Chalobah because I always remember this sort of the recovery tackle he made against. Was it who was it? Was it Isak or was it St. Maximin?
Yeah.
Where he took it down the line and we thought, Isak was going to go through on goal, and then Chalobah makes that incredible recovery with his pace and stuff. I think that's about the only sort of good thing he did during the game. I didn't really think he did much else, to be honest, apart from that. I'll probably have to agree with the boys and go for a 4.5.
Fair enough.
I hope he stays as well, by the way, Chalobah, because I think he could be a good utility player for us, just like Ruben was in terms of like the forward part of the pitch. I think Chalobah can be a good utility player for us, whether that's filling in at right back at times or even at centre back. So yeah, I'd keep Chalobah just on the side note. Yeah.
I don't fully disagree. It's just my issue is we have Silva, we have Badiashile, we have Fofana, we have Koulibaly, who I don't expect to leave, and we have Koval coming back. That's already 5 centre-backs. And at right back, at least Pice's sources keep telling us that as far as they're aware, Azpi wants to stay because of building his house. So,
is he?
Yeah, apparently. That's what London's Fast has reported. So, again, I don't know how true it is, but, we'll see.
I mean, if the price came in for Chalobah,
Reece James and Malo Gusto. So then you're like we're selling literally our entire midfield, and then we have 17 centre-backs. So from that perspective, I'm like one, if not 2 of them need to go. I just think Chalobah is number 1, easiest to sell. Number 2, we'll get the most money for.
That's true, yeah. Like I've always said with money, like if we get at least sort of like 30 to 40 or maybe even more, then great. Like Happy Days will happily sell him. But I definitely want to get rid of Koulibaly. I think he's the one that I'd probably sell. But that's for another time. Yeah.
I know we'll discuss that again at length, obviously throughout the summer. But I still feel like Koulibaly deserves at least another season, especially because now in this end period he was also injured a lot, so that doesn't help him. But what would I give Chalobah? I mean, I won't change it no matter what I say, but I probably would have given him the same 4 I gave Silva, especially after what Bertram said. I think he made a good point in terms of the Chalobah only played that first half. And I guess Silva maybe was a 3 for the first half with the goal he conceded, but then maybe a 5 or a 6 for the second half. So that would even itself out a little bit. But yeah, obviously remains at a 4.5. Let's just quickly do Fofana as well, because obviously he played the same position. Well, Silva and Fofana then switched round, I guess. But he still played that second half, 94% pass accuracy. 2 out of 2 ground duels. That shows you that there wasn't much to do. So I would just give Fofana a simple 6 because we didn't have much to do. I never saw him do anything wrong, but I never saw him do anything particularly great. So he's just going to get an average 6 from me. Would you just quickly, Dums? Don't need to spend too much on this one. I don't think there's much to say. But would you agree with that 6?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with 6. And even just before the game when I saw the lineup, I was kind of glad Fofana wasn't starting, even though I sort of... it's weird because 2 days ago I wanted him to start, but then when looking at the team sheet, I was like, yeah, he deserves to be benched just based on the performances he put in Manchester both days. So
I guess with how it was in the end, Chalobah started, Fofana played the second half. That was somewhat reasonable decisions from Frank in that sense, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he finally did something somewhat right. So just
somewhat being the key word. Bacham, would you go along with the 6 for Fofana as well?
I think actually I'd give him a 6.5. I'd give him just over, seeing as though we completely locked them down in the second half. And I think he definitely had 2 good moments. He had 1 tackle and I think an interception as well, in where we saw a little bit more from him. But it is difficult seeing as he played in a half where either he was really, really good in a sense that that's the reason they weren't as. It isn't It's not because of Fofana they stopped attacking. I think we our attackers set more into gear, which meant they had to stay further back and didn't have that much momentum.
We just managed to sustain pressure better and apply pressure better, I guess.
Exactly. So I still think he was quite good. He didn't make any mistakes. He wasn't part of that rigid back 4. So for me, I'd give him just over average. I'd give him a 6.5, purely based on the fact that he was part of a better unit and did have some good moments. Definitely more memorable in my opinion.
Fair dues. Adash, 2 6s, 1 6.5. What are you going to go for Fofana?
Yeah, similar to you guys. I don't think it wasn't too. I didn't notice him too much. Just kind of good game, progressed the ball when he needed to. Kind of was able to shift possession. I think it was good. But yeah, I think more than anything, just a more positive way to end the season. Move on to the next one as kind of more of a linchpin of our defense now with Thiago Silva aging and with all the changes that are going to happen. I think a much better way to end the season. I'll go for a 6.
Fair dues. And we move on to, actually, just because in terms of how much they were involved in attacking each, still Azpi first looked poor on that first goal. I understood what he was trying to do, and he probably didn't hear Chalobah telling him close that guy down. And he maybe didn't realize that Chalobah was right behind him. So if Chalobah isn't there, Azpi's positioning isn't that bad. But because Chalobah was there, Azpi then should close him down, if that makes sense. So he needs to know that his teammate is there to know that he needs to close him down, but he just needed to close that guy down. And there's no guarantee that stops the cross, but the likelihood goes drastically up. He that blocks it, maybe also stops the guy from even attempting the cross by okay, I can't really get it past here, maybe cuts it back or whatever. So that wasn't great. Otherwise, I don't even really know. He had the most tackles in the match with 3, apparently. Ground duels, he won 7 out of 13, which isn't amazing, but also not awful. Aerial duels, 2 out of 2. I don't really know. I'm going to give him a 4.5 is what I'll start with. I'll let you go first on this one. Is 4.5 about where you'd go? Would you go a little higher? Would you go a little lower? What do you think?
It's pretty tough for me. I thought, probably at fault for the goal, kind of as you mentioned, but didn't really do anything too memorable other than that, unlike the game against United. I think I'll probably go for a 5, just a little bit positive. I think more than anything, I'm just kind of a little bit frustrated by the entire situation that's happening to him right now, where we're kind of in this limbo, because I don't want him to kind of. I would feel
that we don't know if he's leaving or not.
Exactly.
Tell me he's staying or tell me he's leaving. And that it's like with Frank, right? When obviously Frank in the end ended up leaving after the 13-14 season, and none of us knew. I remember us in January, I was or December. That was my first games at the Bridge. And I was in the mega store deciding, do I get a Lampard shirt or do I get a Torres shirt? Because Torres is my favorite player and stuff. And I was like, I want to get Lampard's shirt when it's his last season. So I decided for Torres. Turns out it was fucking Lampard's last season, so I was fuming. But obviously I didn't know at the time. I was leaving. But you know what, actually, Adash, I'll change my rating. I'll also give him a 5, just in case it is his last game. If it isn't, we'll go back in 2 months' time and, put it back to 4.5. But I will give him a 5. I go along with that. Dons, 5, 4.5. Do you want to give him that pity 0.5 like I did, or what do you reckon?
Yes, it's a tough one with Azpi, man, because, hasn't had a great season at all, but then again, I can't remember the last time he had a good season for us. But yeah, I'll probably give him just based on this performance, I'll probably give him a 4.5, to be honest. And just on the side note from Azpi, big if, obviously if this is his last game for Chelsea, then obviously deserves the banner so much. Absolute legend for the club. To play the amount of games he did, the teams that he was involved in. Is it 3 Premier Leagues he's got now, or something like that? I think 3 Premier Leagues, Champions League, as well as Europa Leagues as well. He's won everything for us, and just as a side note, he's a cult hero / legend for us. I think.
No, he's an absolute legend, bro.
100%. Yeah, obviously other people can sort of debate whether he's a cult hero legend, but for me, he's a legend. He's playing under the managers that we have, the players that he's learned off.
The only player that's won all trophies.
Exactly.
All trophies that we could have won, he did win.
Even under JT, learning off JT, the likes of Ivanovic as well, who were class back then as well. Obviously carried over to some of the newer players like Hazard and everyone, and just absolute legend for the club, and just shout out him for that. But it's obviously we all know it's time to let go of him. So hopefully we see. Good luck wherever he goes if this is his last game. But I'll probably give him a 4.5 just based on this game.
Fair dues. 2 5s, 1 4.5. Bertram, what are you going to give Azpi?
I want to give him a 5.5. Just going all the way up. I think, he might. For most of the reasons as well, I think it is. I personally think it is his last game, even though reports say the contrary. I think he wasn't as bad as today as originally thought. You could wish he'd done better for the goal, but I think Thiago Silva also takes most of the blame there, to be honest, perfectly. I think he was all right today in his one-on-ones. I think he won a couple of tackles, at least. I thought he showed some passion. He was one of the players. I think we had maybe 5 or something for today. And consistently as well, he's shown that he does want to be here, and I think that does have to merit something as well. We forget he was playing against one of the most dangerous wingers in the league, up against St. Maximin as well. Also with the overlapping Matt Target. So the goal, you could say what you want to say with it, but he was against 2 players when he came in. So I'd give him a 5.5, and also want to say, pay my dues and say he was, for the time I've supported Chelsea, he's always been one of the players who I've respected, who I've always seen fight for the shirt, and I think the legend status, there's not many in our current team who deserve it, but he definitely is one of those. So big ups to Azpi.
Of the people that start today, I think he's the only one. It's a question by the end if Thiago deserves that, but
depends on it depends on next season, I would say, and the amount of time he plays, but also the player Azpi, the person as well, the person we see him to be. The fact that they call him Dave, I think everything boils together to make him a legend as well. We saw the appreciation today, which was deserved. So for me, I'd give him a 5.5. I think he wasn't that bad, and legend tax as well.
Yeah, there you go. No, fair play. I do. The one thing, and I don't want to, especially as we're now paying our dues to him, I did never think he was a great captain, though. It's I never felt when that whole Kepa thing happened. Since that day, I'm you're not a good captain, are you? Why did he not do anything? The whole sorry Kepa refusing to come off. Why did the captain not do so? They're even countrymen. They're even both Spanish, and he still didn't do nothing. Since that day, to me, Azpi wasn't a great captain. He might have been a great captain off the pitch. Very well possible. I don't know. But on the pitch, I always thought he lacked quite a lot in that sense, which is partly why I want him to go. Not because I don't like him or don't rate him. Or didn't rate him. I guess I don't rate him anymore, I will say. But I just think we need a refresh, and a new captain is also part of that personally. But let's go on to over to the other side, Lewis. So, and Charles, well, that shirt, considering I bought it in 2013, that if you're 6'4", definitely won't fit you. But I don't know if you want to wear those shirts. I tend to not actually wear football shirts, just have them. Sometimes hang them up or whatever. But, you do you, let me know. DM me. But yeah, Lewis Hall, what a guy. Absolutely love him. Only 18 years old. And again, one of our best players. Now, it's weird actually because he should have had 2, maybe 3 assists today from his crosses. And he actually only completed 4 out of 15 crosses. But as I always say, crossing is not like having completed crosses is not all about the crosser. You can have a good cross and it still not be a completed cross because also the guys in the middle need to do something. Like, it's not all about the completed cross stats. That's not all it is. But yeah, I don't think he really made any mistakes defensively. Newcastle didn't really create much of that side other than the one occasion where Almiron was obviously, well, I guess twice he was kind of alone, 1-on-1 against the keeper. But obviously Lewis Hall did so much attacking and I'm like, well, you can't be back all the time. So I will give him a 7. I don't think, like in this kind of game, I don't think anyone should be getting much higher than that, but I'll say a 7. And yeah, I can only repeat what I said after the United game. First of all, what do we do with him? In my opinion, he should get a championship loan where he plays regularly because he's only 18. There's no point in now making him be here next season because we will have Chile. I don't think Cucurella will leave. So then Hall will barely play unless we're selling so many midfielders, whether it's Gallagher, Ruben, Mount, Kovacic. We don't know still if Kante will extend his contract or not. Maybe there will be a need to have that kind of extra backup midfielder that can play as a 6, that can play not as a single 6, but as pivot 6 or as an 8. Maybe Lewis Hall will be quite useful to have as that. But I think for his own personal development, it would be better if he goes on a championship loan. And then maybe in 2 or 3 years, we bring it back. But I do think we need, along with the potential loan club, we need to make a decision on what his position is. I think that's very decisive at this age for a footballer, because if you're too versatile, you will become one of those types of players, a bit like a Havertz, who's maybe a jack of all trades a little bit, but a master of none. And that's not what we want Lewis Hall to end up being, because you're not going to be a starter for any top team long term if you're not a master of anything. Unfortunately, Havertz, I guess, proved that wrong. He isn't a master of many things, but good at a lot of things. So, and he still starts all the time. So I guess maybe I'm wrong, but I still think to be a good player consistently, you need to be good at what you do and not constantly change what you have to do. But yeah, I will say 7. Bertrand, I'll let you go first on this one. Lewis Hall, happy with him, impressed with him, and do you agree that a championship loan would do him best, or would you do something different with him?
God, very impressed with him. Very impressed with him. I'm so impressed with him. Right. That fact that I would the pale trend. I don't know the issue with him. We have, saying Matt. If Maatsen does come back, I think selling him would do us good. But if Maatsen does come back, we do have 4 left backs with all starting quality. Maybe even 3, and then Cucurella as well. I'd almost want to start him. I think he's been that impressive, especially these last couple of games. I think he is a midfielder, and it would be interesting to see him play that role as well. But going forward, the crosses, we were talking about the amount of assists he's been robbed for as well. Look at today. He had the one for Sterling, the one for Joao Felix as well. That would be a goal. I even believe if it was Havertz, it would have been in a goal. Well, I say that. We saw that exact cross at Old Trafford to Havertz. It was not a goal. I think he's been so impressive, and I think he's fought for a spot. I'd almost bin off everyone else and keep him in Chile and make them fight out for it, because I think he's been good defensively as well. I think he won a lot of tackles.
3 out of 4 tackles, 5 out of 9.
Today, I think he was very impressive, and definitely taken a lot on. And I don't know. I think championship, it would almost be a step down for him. So
can I quickly, because someone in the chat said that as well, the reason why I say championship is because most Prem clubs, if they loan an 18-year-old, they won't start them all the time. And his level, he is too good for the championship. I completely agree. But I don't think we will find a Prem team to loan him to who will start him every week. And I'd rather he in the championship plays every game than be in the Prem and plays some games but be on the bench most of the time.
You wouldn't consider sending him abroad somewhere?
No. Well, no, of course.
For what that would give him?
Depends on where, I guess, and also the same issue still applies. Teams that loan 18-year-olds are either not great and lower league, or they don't start them, because otherwise, they have their own 18-year-olds, right? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it depends. I think if we had bought Strasbourg, he'd fit brilliantly into the category we had for. But almost, I think as well. I think he doesn't look out of place in this team. I don't know what you else think. I think he doesn't look out of place. And we do need the money. So selling someone like Maatsen, if we sell him to a Burnley team who's been promoted, who'd be desperate, because if they can't have him, they'd either have to find someone else for a large amount of money as well. But they have a ready-made player who knows the system, and with a team would be willing to sell. So I think I'd keep him. We also do need to be cautious that it can go wrong. He is 18. He's allowed to make mistakes. He's also allowed to have a down year, maybe even 2. I think the how football's come. Almost if someone doesn't break through when they're 19, they're not good enough. So I still give him preseason. I think I'd give him the chance next season throughout to start, but also be wary that a loan might do him good if he falls into a bit of a slump. But super impressive. And for me today, he'd almost be my man of the match. I'd give him a 7.
Fair dues. Adash, will go to you next. Would you agree with the 7? What did you think of Lewis Hall today?
I'm going to go even higher. I'm going to give him a 7.5. I thought he just oozes class. He just oozes confidence. He's not afraid to make runs, to take the ball on. And I think today was just pure quality that he showed. Even his corners, some of them were really good. There was one to Thiago Silva, which he almost scored. Yeah, there was another corner which we nearly scored off of. I think in general, just his deliveries were really good and really on point today. And yeah, I just can't speak highly enough of him. I think in terms of what we do, I think it would almost be better for him to kind of stay with us, because I think we're gonna sell Maatsen, and then what we do with Cucurella, I guess, is kind of up in the air. But Chilwell doesn't stay fit for a lot of the season. He's kind of become a little bit injury prone. So if we can't rely on him for the whole season, I think Hall being able to fill in as a backup left back as well as a midfield option would serve us really good as a depth option, as well as getting more game time on the pitch. If he's kind of a rotation option in 2 different positions, he has much more opportunity to get on the field. Because let's not forget, the one thing I want to say on him is all of his games that he has played so far where he's been class have been against really good opposition. He hasn't played against bad teams. He hasn't come on for garbage time minutes. He played City 18 times, and now he's playing Newcastle, and he's playing really good teams, and he's still showing that quality. So I think, yeah, I would say even to keep him in the squad, if we can't find the right fit for him, I would not fret about that at all.
Fair dues. I'll take it to you, Dams, to quickly do Hall and maybe Enzo as well before you need to head off. The one thing I'm not sure if we can just yet say Chile has fitness issues, because I think after an ACL, it's very natural to have a few injury troubles of slightly different injuries in the following season, because the knee kind of takes effect on the rest of the body as you try to become fully fit again. So I'd hold final judgment on that for next season to see if he's still regularly injured or not. But the one thing I will say, where is it? Livramento, well, we signed Gusto, so we can, but I don't think we will, or arguably should at this point, because what do we do with another right back? Also, he just came back from his ACL injury as well, didn't he? But Dams, 2 7s, 1 7.5 for Lewis Hall. What would you give him? I guess jumping quickly, what do you think we should do with him? And then let's go to Enzo as well.
Yeah, I'll probably have to agree with the 7, to be honest. I thought, as Bertram said, I thought man of the match today, our best player on the pitch. Some of his crosses into the box were good, looks lively. He's not even playing in his natural position as well. And yeah, he's really sort of taken the opportunity for him. For him personally, Chilwell and Cucurella being out has sort of been a positive for Lewis Hall personally to sort of take this chance and maybe prove to Pochettino that he should be the starting left back for next season. I mean, I doubt he would, but I'm glad he's had the chance, to be honest, to prove himself. And yeah, I mean, if he gets a loan, some of the Prem club, that'd be great. But obviously, I don't know if he get the limited. I don't know if he get the minutes that he sort of deserves. But as I think one of you guys said, maybe somewhere abroad or even the Championship, I think that'll be a very good move for him.
If we get Strasbourg, perfect.
Exactly. So more to come from Lewis Hall, hopefully. And the only thing that I want to stop doing is giving the ball away so cheaply. But I think that'll come over time, because I think there's a couple of instances where he just misplaces a few passes, lacks a bit of sort of that sort of concentration at times. But I think that'll come over time. Like the kid's only what is he 18, 19, something like that?
18 even, yeah.
18, 19. So yeah, for me the man of the match for today.
Fair dues, fair play. Go on Enzo as well before you need to head off, Dams. What do you make of him? Another pretty good game. Nothing as outstanding as in the last one, I would probably say. But still a good game.
Yeah, Enzo's class, man. Like just every game he drops at least a 7 or 8. To be honest, like I don't remember the last time I don't even know if he's had a bad game for us. To be honest, like
I feel that's been it's difficult because on the ball I think he's always been very good, as with exception maybe 1 or 2. But I do almost every game feel like you so badly lack someone properly defensive next to you, because he has his good moments defensively. But so often, like today, he had 3 out of 9 ground duels. If you're a proper DM, you can't be doing that. Now, he's not a proper DM, but the problem is because our club is a bunch of idiots, and we let go of the only other kind of DM that we had. I know Jorginho wasn't one properly either, but at least then that would have allowed Enzo to do other things.
Exactly.
But like this, he keeps having to do this as well, and that's why he rarely, for me, got like the 9s and the 8s, because I'm like, well, yeah, on the ball you were always an 8 or a 9, but defensively you weren't. So it always ended up for me of like between a 6.5 and a 7.5 usually. But
the quicker. Today, bro? I'll probably rate him I'll probably give him a 6.5, because I don't think I could put him on the same thing as Lewis Hall. I'll probably give him a 6.5, but yeah, as I keep saying, man, we need a partner for this guy, man, and let him sort of let loose in that way where he can show his talent like he showed at the World Cup. And yeah, that pass for Sterling as well for the free kick was quite underrated as well. I thought that was a really good sort of quick free kick pass into Sterling, perfect weight onto Sterling's sort of right foot. I think people don't really appreciate how good the pass was just because of the weight of it, the positioning of it as well. Yeah, I thought Enzo was class, man.
Fair dues, Dams. I know you need to head off, so thank you very much for giving us that hour. I appreciate it. Everybody check him out on Twitter. Obviously, you can see it on the screen and it's down in the description below. Have a good rest of your Sunday. It's bank holiday for you guys as well, yeah, tomorrow?
Yes, but bank holiday tomorrow, bro. That's it, yeah.
There you go. Enjoy bank holiday, and I'm going to chat to you soon, bro.
Yeah, big up, boys. Big up the chat as well.
Cheers, bro. Take care. Bacham, I'll take it to you. Enzo Fernandez. I mean, to mention some defensive stat, that wasn't great. 3 out of 9 ground duels. He didn't have any tackles, which is also not ideal. But when you go to other stats, long balls, 10 out of 12. Again, how does he keep doing this? This is ridiculous. Now, the crosses, 0 out of 5. That isn't amazing. But again, crosses are not always fully... Like, a completed cross isn't always fully dependent on how good the cross is. But in general, pass accuracy, 90% as well. Against Newcastle, it's very good. It's a top player. Would you agree with the 6.5, or would you go for something different?
I'd agree with the 6.5. I think it was one of his poorer games for us today, which, speaks volumes. I think the game he played would be, if he played Gallagher's game today, definitely his best. I think some of those crossfield diagonals he had one to Azpi, and I remember watching one of the ones he played. I was looking at it thinking, how does he keep doing this? It's perfectly weighted. The Newcastle player even read it, tracked back, realized, okay, it's on his foot. It's on the Nike logo or on the Adidas logo of Azpi's boot. He couldn't get anywhere near him. So I think he was decent today. To be honest, I'm still impressed that he hasn't kicked off yet. He's the only one who's cared. I think after the United game as well, he was the only one who cared, who was the only one who showed some fight. When Bruno had the penalty as well. And I think you touched upon it before. He isn't, even though for the World Cup he didn't play in the midfield with a standout defensive midfielder playing with Rodrigo De Paul and McAllister and himself as well. But I think I saw on Twitter, I think it was last night, like the stats bomb circles and where they have ground duels and stuff like this. You had his circle and you had Ugarte's circle, or what they're good at, and it almost covered the whole thing. So if we get a defensive partner for him, I think we'd be in the money, because we've seen some of the assists he's made. The one for Kai, the one for Joao at West Ham as well. So I think today is one of his poorer games, but it's just saying that the pass he made for Sterling is something we've been looking for like 5 years, ever since Cesc went to Monaco before going to Como. It's something we've been looking for. So one of his poorer games today, but my God, he's a real gem. Speaks volumes that no one's marbling him a flop or even saying he hasn't been impressive.
How many players do you sign for 120 mil? Have in a club that's as bad as
go
we
down
have
in the league
and
system
still
as well.
No one questions them.
And he's been great. He's going to be so good. And if he wants to be here, is my feeling as well. You know, who knows why?
I think so. I mean, Joel says Enzo future captain. I would still prioritize someone like Reece, but the problem with Reece is obviously he's injured so much that I guess that is a little bit of an issue. But Reece can still be the captain while he's injured, and then you just need to have someone else on the pitch. And most certainly, Enzo could be vice captain, and when Reece is injured, be the captain on the pitch. He most certainly has the attributes for it. But I do still think before you consider him captain material, he needs to actually know the language of the country that he works in or that he plays in. So let him learn English a bit more before we consider that. But in terms of character, absolutely. Adash, finish that off for us. 3 6.5s for Enzo Fernandez. Would you go along with it too?
I would have gone a little bit harsher, maybe given him a 6, or I was between a 6 and 6.5. I think, like you said today, just the fact that it wasn't one of his best games and still probably our second or third best player on the pitch just speaks volumes about everything that this club has been through. I think, yeah, he's just so much quality. I think I'm probably underrating him because those long balls have become kind of a normality under Enzo. But I think today I saw when he went and pressed and didn't get the ball, he wouldn't track back as much, which is kind of the role that I want him to play on almost. Just be a little bit further forward, not have to recover and get back to his position as a sitting 6 if he tries to be aggressive on the front foot. But that's the role he had to play today. So for that, I would give him a 6. But yeah, just looking forward to next season. He was our shining star this season, and next season's only going to go up from here. If he's playing with not Gallagher in midfield, things can only get better.
There you go. Just take a quick break from the player ratings. Let's get to some rather interesting quotes from Frank Lampard from after the game. Let me just see that I get the right ones. There you go. So he started off, when you're Chelsea and you've lost as many games as we have, there are things to improve. I'm not sure that note in terms of what he's going to tell the new manager, Pochettino, should be a public one. There are clearly things that would improve, but the new manager could see with his own eyes. And I'd rather Poch does it with his own eyes as well, because I'm not sure quite how much I trust Frank's judgment. But then he goes on, we're not physically competitive enough. Newcastle are. That's a strong opinion that I have. Disillusioned players. I wonder what he exactly means by disillusion. Rightly or wrongly, players who might leave, those situations need to be resolved now. And I'll bring another one up, which kind of continues on from there. Thank you, Adash, for sending them, by the way. Appreciate that. Very useful. He initially says some have been mindful of that in terms of possible goodbyes for a while, and that's part of the problem. Maybe getting to the end of it is a good thing. Now we get to the bottom of it quickly. The dressing room was pretty quiet. It's been a quiet dressing room since I got here. I think probably the players are happy to have a break. They have to take responsibility for the season. And for most of this, as much as I'm still intrigued what exactly he means by disillusioned players, this is what annoys me, because I'm like, yeah, Frank, all of us knew that. It just seems like you were the ones that were the only one that didn't know it. All of us said, play the ones that will be here next season. But you kept playing all the ones that won't be here next season. That is exactly our issue. And that is why we complain so much at your team selections, and why I think we could have been so much better if you just picked the proper players. If you played Chukwuemeka all the time, if you played Hall all the time, I guess while Chile was fit, that's fair enough. If you keep playing players that are almost certainly going to leave, unlike someone like Azpi, obviously, because he's a captain and leaving for different reasons, if he does leave. That's the issue. You constantly brought on Ziyech. You constantly used players like Joao Felix, I guess we don't know. He wants to stay. Let's see if he does. But you constantly start players that will leave over players that won't. You are that problem, not them. They will leave. They're humans. It's understandable that they don't care that much anymore when there's nothing to fight for. But you're the manager that could have picked different players. Do you think I'm harsh on that, Bertram?
Bertram's gone.
I just think it's so how can he sit there and say, oh, it's such a problem that some of these players were mindful of leaving already? I'm like, but then don't play them though.
Yeah, I've been very mindful as well of this because keeping Chukwuemeka back from the Under-20s World Cup. And I think we had 3 games left. It was United where he started. What was the one before that?
Forest?
No, before United. Was it Forest?
City away.
City, yeah. For example, I couldn't understand the fact that we played some of the, the likes of the players we knew would be leaving. And I never understood why we played them. I think the only thing I can come to a consensus with these young players is, he as he says as well, you need to train to get at the right level. So a part of me thinks, okay, if he keeps Chukwuemeka out of the side, even though he trains better. He knows he's better. He knows he deserves it more. He give that extra, 150% on the training pitch, and kind of wants to instill that into him. And maybe fair enough if he believes that's the right thing to do. If he believes it's more beneficial for him to get that in and get playtime. But his team selections these last couple of weeks, you've talked upon it before as well. It's been absolutely dreadful seeing players that we know are going to leave. The Kovacic's, ZX when he's been subbed on and stuff like this. Not being able to see someone like Fofana, the striker. I think the thing you talked about before, where about players being disillusioned, as well, is very interesting. And being able to, Poch being able to assess it with his own eyes is also quite interesting. If there's not many things I love more in this world than talking about Chelsea, except also talking about my Danish team. It was the same thing. The top scorer in the Danish league this season plays for us. Last season as well, after the game, the last game we played before we got our new manager in, he walked around, clapped, basically said goodbye to everyone, as many of the players are doing today. But when the new manager came in, they agreed, okay, let's give it a week, see what happens. They ended up liking each other, signed an extension, top scorer now. So I think we still need to be wary of who is leaving, which, it could be a good thing for Frank that he hasn't been someone off completely, almost given everyone equal game time as, so Poch can assess them when they come in. But as things stand now, it doesn't really make that much sense.
By the way, exactly what you just said, which is why I'm like, why didn't we? Like, we should have never hired Frank. We should have just kept Potter until we had an agreement with another manager, and then bring that other manager at the end of the season. Especially if it was someone like Poch who was out of a job anyway. Because then we could have used this period now to make exactly those assessments, and not only have to start it in preseason, because preseason is too late. We need to sell the players in June before preseason even starts. So. That's half the problem, isn't it?
But maybe we couldn't get Poch, or maybe we hadn't, done the diligence project.
Approached Poch, so
yeah, I suppose. Like no, but I think there's a lot of elements looking back on it. Even staying with Potter, he pretty much knew he was going to get sacked, so that would have made sense. And if we'd hired Poch, it seems now it was the right decision.
Another week or two would have made a difference at that point, would it?
What did you say? Sorry.
If it's like I agree that Potter probably knew at some point he would get sacked and everyone wanted him to get sacked, but whether he would have stayed for another 2 or 3 games or 2 or 3 weeks wouldn't have made any difference.
No, but we also did start the process in trying to find the right manager. If we'd really just done everything we could to find a manager just after we'd sacked Potter, we might have ended up with Nagelsmann, or we might have ended up with Poch, and Poch might not have been the right guy. So I think we had to. It's always easy looking back, but it's difficult because I've hated every game under Frank. Every single game we've played ever since we conceded that screamer at Wolves. It's been terrible. But almost, what could we have done in a sense? Even if we'd hired Poch, we didn't know he would be the right guy for the job. He might still not be, but at least
he might still not be that.
We've done the process and we figured.
But at least if Poch was here already, he could have made decisions based on knowing the team, and players, whether they want to stay or leave, they could have made those decisions on the basis of working with him already, not just talking to him, because
I see that.
But yeah, and no, Joe, I would not take Romelu Lukaku back. I would rather die, quite frankly. That is that. I just hope his reasonable end to the season means Inter buy him. But to be honest, a man that's benched by 37-year-old Dzeko, I doubt that they would buy him. Adash, obviously, if you want to touch on anything that Frank said as well for a second, please do. Otherwise, I was going to move on to Ruben Loftus-Cheek because we need to get the stream done, and otherwise we're going to be here for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I'll quickly touch on what Frank said. I guess I think the first thing is perhaps one thing could be that the players we think want to leave may not be the players that actually do want to leave, and then Frank's kind of own opinion and experience behind the scenes.
But that doesn't matter. I'm not talking about me knowing who the players are, but Frank will. You could just fucking ask them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, so maybe there are players who were mad that he's benching who actually do want to leave, and I don't necessarily know who that would be, but I guess that could be one explanation. But I think there was something that Pice tweeted out in terms of the news came out that players had given up and they had asked him to stop training. So I don't think this is necessarily like all on him. I think it's just like a collective mindset of it's a kind of like a loser mentality almost. I really hope it isn't like some of the new signings that we're hoping to build our future around. But yeah, I just think it was a train wreck. I think it was going to be a train wreck no matter who was there. And that the idea that it might have softened the blow if Frank was in charge clearly didn't work out to be the case, which is what the owners were going for. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Moving on to Loftus-Cheek, thought he had a decent game. Not too much to kind of clamor about. I'll give him a 6.5 because emotional send off. I guess he was the first one through the ranks, the first one that really gave us hope, I guess. And then now to see him kind of go, and I just know he's gonna tear it up in this area. I just think he's perfectly built for that AC Milan team if he does go there. And I think
when Ruben turns up there, everyone's gonna realize that Milinkovic-Savic is half the player the whole world thought he was, because Ruben Loftus-Cheek is gonna be a 3 times better Milinkovic-Savic. I'm telling you this right now. And this is no slating of Milinkovic-Savic. I think he's a good player. people talk about him as a world-class midfielder. Ruben Loftus-Cheek will look that in this area. I completely agree. 6.15, yeah, I agree. 6 plus a 0.5 because I'm sad. It was nice that he got an ovation. I think, usually I would be annoyed by Frank taking him off, but today I'm like, it's okay. He looked a bit sad and emotional as well, which is understandable. The guy's been here since he was, 8, whatever. It's crazy. And he completed 89% of his passes today, which meant 42 out of 43. So as much as he maybe sometimes was a bit too safe, as he sometimes is, at least didn't cost us the ball. That's one thing. 2 out of 2 completed dribbles, 2 out of 4 duels won. Didn't really have any tackles, which that's his one issue. That's why I would always prefer him as a proper 8 rather than this 8/6. But yeah, 6.5, I would go along with it. Bertrand, would you go along with that? Honestly, I think it's more of a 6, but might as well give him the 0.5 extra.
I wouldn't, and please don't boot me off. I'd almost give him like a 5.5.
Right.
I will. I'd give it up to 6 for emotional, but I think it was one of his poorer games. I think we didn't get to see his bursting runs in a sense as much as we wanted to. But touching upon him as a player and his send off, I think we've lost out on one of the real legends playing that stupid friendly against New England in 2019. That trip has cost us more than we can imagine. The player he could have been, the player that he was for those 6 months under Sarri, up there with some of the best midfield play I've seen from Chelsea since I started supporting in 14 actually. So I understand selling him in a sense, but I also believe that in the right team, he offers something that we don't have. He offers the size, the darting runs as well. So if Milan do end up getting him, Laurenz should almost get an AC Milan shirt with his name on.
AC Milan is not my second team, absolutely.
But
I'm going to watch every game next season. Champions League as well. Come on, Milan.
If we get a decent price for him, it is what it is. But I think he deserved the sending off today. I think all fans are in agreement that what he's done for the club shouldn't be understated, and it's almost sad to see him go. But we can hope he doesn't. We can hope he doesn't leave. I understand he's on high wages, as just been said. But today wasn't the best that we've seen from him. If he got a goal, it would almost be poetic. But today, 5.5. But thank you, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. That goal against Frankfurt.
Yeah. Absolutely, that goal again. That whole season, quite frankly, it was wonderful. All right, let's move on to Conor Gallagher, another player who I'm more hoping will leave rather than thinking will leave, just because so many others are leaving. If Mount leaves, I wouldn't be shocked at all that if Gallagher stays, because the teams that will want Gallagher doesn't want to go to, i.e. Everton offered 45 million for him in January. We said yes, Gallagher said no. But the teams that Gallagher will want to play for, they won't want Gallagher. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Gallagher ends up staying. I guess his wages aren't that high, but I still don't think he's the kind of footballer. I mean, maybe Poch can bring more out of him than we've seen of him now, but I just don't think he's technically there. I also find it utterly ridiculous, by the way, that he won goal of the season. Chelsea didn't even nominate our actual goal of the season. Havertz's goal against Salzburg away was by far the best goal we scored all season, and they didn't even nominate. I don't know if they forgot about it, but it's ridiculous to me. but anyway, it was still a good goal that he scored against Palace there. Today, I don't think he was as bad as he was against United, for example. 91 pass accuracy, it's pretty decent. But but I don't think you can say he was good. So, 5? Is that even too high? What do you think, Bacham?
Call, I think the 91 pass accuracy does surprise me. I was thinking like 2. I was there. I thought he was dreadful today. I think the amount of times he definitely screwed 2 promising attacks up. When I think about it, he also had a couple of misplaced passes. I think I can understand him wanting to stay, fight for his place. I love the fact that he's a Chelsea boy. I will always remember last season when he did an interview with Rio Ferdinand, and he said before the interview that, don't even ask me if I want to stay. I'm gonna go back to Chelsea. But I still think I think he technically isn't there, and I think he almost messes up more than he gives us. I think he'd be very good in a counter-attacking team, something where there's more tempo. I struggle to see if he can make it here. I struggle to see even if he could be like what Eric Dyer or even a Musa Sissoko was for Poch before. I would love him to stay, if just for the character he is. And that goal was good, but I think he was terrible today. He was terrible. Technically, he just isn't at a level to play in the midfield for Chelsea. I almost think Kepa is technically it would be better.
I actually agree with that. Maybe I was too nice. Honestly, like today, I usually can watch all Chelsea games on Sky here in Austria, but because it was the last day and everyone played at the same time, they had showed all games together and switched between them. And the Southampton-Liverpool game, which, to be fair, they picked a good game. Didn't that finish 4-4? So, fair enough to them. But, so I had to watch a stream. So sometimes the stream was bad for me. So maybe I just didn't see Gallagher being quite as bad. You have convinced me, though. I'll take mine down to at least a 4, though. But I can't sit here and say, oh, yeah, I agree. He gives him a 2 if I didn't really see it. So I'm going to leave it at a 4. But with your 2, obviously, we sit at a 3 for the time being. Adash, what would you give him?
I was going to go right in the middle for a 3. I think just I feel bad. I feel bad when I just dislike the way he plays, but I just think it's kind of aggravating to me. And perhaps if we were a better team collectively, then what he offers to the team would be more valuable. But now it just seems like the same thing. The one consistent thing I've said about Gallagher is that it drives me insane when he's pressing, doesn't get the ball, misses it by a second, and then commits a foul. And then it just loses all momentum in the game. And he just keeps doing that, which just defeats the entire point of pressing, because the point of pressing is to put pressure on the opponent. If you give them a free kick, it's taking away pressure from them. It's giving them an opportunity to slow the game down. And like Bertrand mentioned, I don't think he's there technically. Honestly, I think he should be the first midfielder out of all of our midfielders currently in terms of how much we can get for him and how much value he contributes to our squad. But honestly, don't think he's going to leave, which I'm not too happy about.
Which is just already bad signs for next season, in my opinion. If everyone but Gallagher basically midfield leaves, especially if Kante doesn't sign the contract. So I'm not even one of those guys that so desperately wants to keep Kante. When we were still deciding between Kante and Georgie, I would have rather kept Georgie, but now that Georgie's gone, I'm like, well, we need to keep Kante. We can't get, and especially if Kovacic leaves too, we can't let all of the experienced players go. And
that also means he's guaranteed. But he's basically guaranteed a starting spot next year, because we're only going to make our midfield signings late. Yeah, because if according to all reports, if we don't get Ugarte, then we're going to make our signings late through preseason. So Gallagher might actually start when the season begins.
Yeah, but Pochettino will play a 4-2-3-1 and I guess it depends on what we do in terms of Felix and stuff, but I don't think Gallagher will start as a 10 under Pochettino. But I could be wrong. At the same time, apparently he quite likes him, so who knows? You might have a point. Let's go high up that pitch. Sterling, the goal didn't count as his, but he still made it happen. Good ball by so kind of robbing Enzo of an assist in that sense. Not that Sterling did anything wrong. He was closest to doing anything useful. But at the same time, he also missed some big chances. He missed that one from close range, which I'm like, how on earth did you not put that in? Even the second one, he got the rebound, even that, he couldn't put enough power on, so he couldn't get cleared. He had that one from the cutback that he put way over. Sterling is a frustrating player. But I still feel like you can see in him that he's still a more experienced player, in the fact that he's basically always dreadful, but still the only one that's going to score. you know, which is kind of where you see the experience that he's just used to scoring goals. So even if he's awful, he will still somehow either get a goal or be involved in a goal. That's Sterling. It annoys me that he started again today and not just that he started, but then Mudryk didn't even come on. Again, to me, it's like, it's just awful man management from Lampard. You can't let, in my opinion, a young player like Mudryk, who's had enough scrutiny as it is, finish the season on that United game, on that chance that he missed. I don't think you should have let him finish on that. And I think that's, again, dreadful man management skills. And it's awful because he's so bad tactically. How can he also be bad at man management? Like, what are you good at, quite frankly, other than talking? And not talking to players, clearly, because none of them listen to you. But Sterling, because obviously he was still involved in a goal, I'm going to say 5.5. Because he still forced the goal. Otherwise, I would probably be more thinking like 4.5, 5. Is that even too? You know what? I'm only going to give him a 5, even though he kind of forced the goal. Adash, what would you give him?
I'll give him a 5. I'll give him a 5.5, I guess. At least he tried. He was kind of that is true. But I think yeah, give him a 5.5. At least he looked like he was trying. Didn't come off today, but it didn't come off for basically anybody today. I guess not too much. I didn't really notice him too much. I just saw him. He was willing to take on players. It wasn't particularly a good strike either. It's that kind of ricocheted off of Trippier and then went in for an own goal. But yeah, I'll give him a 5.5.
Fair enough, Bertram. A 5 and a 5.5. What would you give Raz?
I'd definitely give him like a 6. I think it won't go down as his goal, but he made the run. He was found, and I think he showed he showed these last couple of maybe this last month. He's shown bits and bobs of why we bought him. And I think today, he was not our best winger. We'll come on to him later, but I think I'd give him a 6 purely on the fact that he got the goal, which I'm going to put down to him because it was.
Can I ask you, did he do anything other than the goal? Did he do anything good? Because I'm like, as much as I agree with you, but that we should praise him for forcing that goal. If otherwise he basically produced a 4, then that thing shouldn't give him a 6.
I'm going to be completely honest. I think most of the game today was a blur, almost. I think did he have? You were talking about a chance earlier. I think it would be very tough for someone who got a goal and didn't play abysmally to give him under. So purely based on the fact that he scored, I'm gonna say he scored. I'm not. I can understand people say he didn't. He still forced it. He still made the run.
If he didn't score, he got an assist. To be fair, so. If
he didn't score, he did get an assist, and I think the run as well. It's not just a tap in. All goals count the same. It's a smart run. I swear he had. There's something in my mind saying that he deserves the 6. I just can't pull it out, which is convenient to say.
I mean,
on a live
to be fair, when I look at his stats, to reel them off, kind of they support you, if anything. 26 out of 28 passes, that's very good. Dribbles, 3 out of 4, that's pretty good. Accurate crosses, 1 out of 3 in terms of percentage. That's better than anybody else has that we've looked at so far. Ground duels, 8 out of 10, that's very strong. So to be fair, you might have a point. Obviously, not everything is stats, but yeah, maybe I'll go back to my initial 5.5, but with 2 5.5s, and your 6 will remain at a 5.5 regardless. Let's go to the other side. Noni Madueke, I like him a lot, I like him a lot. And I'll say something now, and people might either see it as a compliment or as an insult. That depends on what you think of who I'm going to compare him to now. To me, he's the next Saint Maximin. Where I'm like, very good player who can dribble, maybe a slight bit less skillful and a slight bit more less smooth in terms of quite how silky and his movements are. But the end product is just shocking. Like, obviously he's young, so there's still time for him to improve on that. But the man cannot find the man with the cross. He is just incapable of playing a ball to another teammate. It's absolutely dreadful how he can't. But his dribbling is just unbelievable. 6 out of 6 completed dribbles today, but only 1 out of 7 crosses. And that's my issue. So the end product is an issue, like bad. And like Topin says, the fact that he doesn't own a second foot is also a major issue. But the fact that the way he plays, he doesn't do a Robin and always cuts on his left because that's his only strong foot. He keeps going to the byline and then cutting it from his right foot. But then if your right foot isn't good, then that's an issue. And I'm not saying he's as good as St. Maximin. I'm just saying he's like St. Maximin, who's great at dribbling, amazing at it. But then the end product isn't always there. again, Madueke is young and he still gets some time, so that can change. But as of right now, I would compare him to that. He had no overlap, sure, it's true, but Madueke doesn't want an overlap because Madueke is the one that wants to stay wide, beat his man, and then play the crossing. Madueke doesn't want an overlap. If anything, Madueke wants the right back behind him to come central to give him a passing option, if anything, and drag a defender away. But Bacham, you're very impressed by him. You like him a lot. I completely agree in terms of his dribbling ability. He's great. Do you see my comparison in terms of with Saint-Maximin, that great on the ball, but the end product in terms of finishing or assisting the final ball just is an issue sometimes still? Do you think that will change, though, if you do agree?
I think the notable difference between the two might be age, and the fact that
Saint-Maximin is, to be honest.
Saint-Maximin's 26, and Nani is
21.
He's 21. He's 2 years.
To be fair, Saint-Maximin has been like that always.
Yeah. But I think Saint-Maximin as well. It was kind of his job almost, in a sense that it's his job. He's encouraged in that Newcastle side. He definitely was before Eddie Howe took over to almost waste time and get free kicks and stuff. But I think the thing about Nani today, I'd give him a 7 as well, even though Lewis Hall was my man of the match. The thing we have going for us with Madueke, I understand the thing about him having no end product. I think he will because I think today I saw that if we'd had a striker, a lot of the times when he had who was their left back? Target. He had Target on strings. There were a lot of times when he got a good ball in, but surprise, surprise, no one's there. And I think we need to be careful that we're a top club, or we strive to be. We're not now, but we strive to be. Having too many players of the same type, having someone as raw as Madueke with that talent, you never really. Whenever I watch him, I have no idea whatever he's going to do. As you said before, even though he is one-footed, you don't know if he's going to cut in to try and shoot, which he almost never does, which I'd encourage him to do.
He did
more.
once today, but just put way too much power in. I don't know why, but
exactly. But he is able to cut in on his right. It's not like Robin, who literally doesn't own a right foot. So I think give him some training. We'll see a really good player. I think he's a bit more disciplined than Madueke. Not Madueke. Madueke. I think he's a bit more disciplined than Saint-Maximin, but.
Yeah. No,
he was good today. He's going to be – I think we're going to see – someone wrote before that he's going to explode next season. I think next season, the season after. But if we get a proper striker to link up with him, maybe even a right back to give him some supporting runs, to even take some of the attention away from him from the team's fullback, we have a really, really good player. Even though the end product isn't there right now, it will be. And I'm extremely sad that he didn't get the goal because I think he did deserve it today. But having, it's not a bad thing that he reminds you a bit of Saint-Maximin. It's almost a good thing.
No, I agree. I didn't necessarily mean it as an awful thing either, because I'm still impressed by a lot of what he does. And it's just such a shame. And it kind of frustrates me that I'm like, if that last pass was better, because I agree today on some occasions there should have just been someone where he passed it to. But on other occasions, he's also just really not put the ball in the right areas. Partly today, partly in other games recently. Adash, would you go along with Bertram 7 or would you go for something different?
I'll go a little bit lower. I don't think he was as good as Hall just because, as you mentioned, the end product not necessarily there. So I'll go for 6.5. I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know if people will slate me for this. I think he's definitely our most promising winger. And I think if I had to put my money on which one of Madueke or Mudryk will kind of show up and be here for the long term in terms of a consistent starter, I would say Noni, just because of the way he. Oh, well, hopefully, but knowing our luck, do we really expect that to happen? I'll be happy with one. I'm hoping for 2, but yeah, I think he's really, really good. Kind of, he has a big frame, so he's able to. He's really quick and agile, but he also has a little bit of strength to kind of like muscle past people, and he was the one who originally pressed and won the ball back for the penalty that should have been, where so that was another.
I can't understand how we didn't get a penalty.
I mean, yeah, I think the referees went easy on us because we definitely would have missed the penalty. That would have been the perfect way to cap off our season, was to miss that penalty. So I think the referees were just
because I thought Felix was already going to the penalty spot. I thought even the team looked like they thought we had a penalty, and I was like, oh yeah, we got a penalty, sick. And all of a sudden we were going to the corner flag, and I was so confused. but fair enough.
Yeah.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I can't really decide between a 6.5 and a 7. So I'll put it to a poll. I put a poll in the chat. Please place your vote for Mudryk's rating between a 6.5 and a 7. I'll leave it as, because both are valid. You know, on the one hand, 6 out of 6 completed dribbles. Even the passing was pretty good. Ground duels, 10 out of 14. There's a lot of good things about it, but I'm not really sure how, you know, like Bertram said, to some extent, there should be someone there. But at the same time, if you do it over and over and over again and there's no one there, maybe think of doing something different. And not just always blame, there's no one there, but then don't pass it there if there's no one there. Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine Enzo just kept passing through balls when no one's there, and you're like saying, whoa, there should be someone there. So that's why Enzo gets a high rating, you know? Like, as to some extent, that's obviously valid because there should be someone there, but if there's not, just don't keep doing it, right? So I'm undecided. I'll let you in the chat decide, and we get to Kai Havertz. Yeah. Other than not being in the right position, I don't really know if Kai did anything. Didn't have a shot.
24 touches.
Yeah. I don't. But Bertram, do you know what you want to give Kai?
I'd give him 1.5 if I'm honest. I think he wasn't there. Well, it could be a good thing. Then he could screw them up. No, I don't think
ghost emoji if you want.
You know what? I'd almost. Yeah, I was thinking like almost same rating as for Gallagher. But the thing about Gallagher is he did get involved, but it was a bad thing to get involved. Yeah. Whereas Kai was almost a good thing. I still think we should keep him though for next season. I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. I'd like to see him paired up in a good system with a decent striker as well. We tried it last season. I suppose he still did score 9 goals in a difficult season.
A couple of them were pens, to be fair. At some point, he got pen duties. Luckily for him, but
yeah, like one or two. But today it was terrible. I'd be down with the ghost emoji. Last game of the season, we're on the beach. Sure, you know, I think that makes sense. Maybe no emoji what's it? Invisible emoji, completely on.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're going to hear the horns outside from the cars. Maybe there's some wedding going on or whatever. I do apologize. But yeah, I think a ghost emoji, because I'm like, do I give him a 1? Do I give him a 2? Do I give him a 3? Because when he had the ball, it's not like he always did it bad. It's not like he constantly gave the ball away or whatever. He had 19 out of 22 complete passes. But he just didn't get into, apparently created 2 chances, but just didn't get into those areas that he should have done. I do still sometimes think that it's him that allows the balls to Sterling and Madueke in useful positions when he does this one. But then if no one, not the opposite winger, not one of the midfielders, fills that gap, I'm like, okay, you're doing that, and that's good, and I've praised that in the past. But if you're playing as the striker and no one else is filling that spot, and you are the striker, then you need to start filling that spot and that area. And he didn't, and he doesn't. And that's one of the issues I have with him. I guess if Sterling's ball didn't get put to the goal by Trippier, Havertz was right behind him and would have put it in. That's the only thing I can give him. But otherwise, I think a ghost emoji is probably best, because otherwise it's just a guess game and a randomizer, really. Adash, you said give him an NA. That kind of makes me think you agree with a ghost. You're muted. I'm not sure if you're aware. There you go.
Oh, I was just doing my best Havertz impersonation.
Very good.
Yeah, just ghost emoji. I think. Yeah, I didn't notice him doing anything good. Didn't really notice him doing anything horrible today. But
that's the thing. That's why I'm like, if I give him like a 2 or a 3 or a 1, I'm like, that is in a way also harsh, because I'm like, what did you do so bad that I give you such a low rating? But I can't sit here and give him a 4 or a 5 because he wasn't good enough for that either. Hence why I'm happy with the ghost.
Yeah, I agree. I think just bring me next season. I think I'm kind of slowly getting tired of it, in terms of like we're expecting him to kind of like show up, and it just hasn't happened, and we've given him time. But yeah, I don't know what happened with him this summer. If this was his last game, then we'll always remember Porto. But if this isn't, then hopefully he can live up to that on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, hopefully he can. Carney, Felix, were the first set of subs in the 60th minute. So I guess these two kind of need a rating. I think the other ones we can kind of leave off as an NA's. Felix obviously had that one chance that he should have taken at the very end with the header at the same time with Joao Felix. We know, I know, everybody knows, heading isn't exactly a strong point. So, which is why I never want to blame as a striker, because seemingly he mostly ends up with these heading goals. One that annoyed me, and which is why I'm also somewhat leaning to the 6.5 for Noni Madueke, is quite late on. We pressed the ball high, won it back. Felix was in the middle, and I could see, because Felix always shoots, doesn't he? And he usually shoots it straight at the goalie or the woodwork, but for once he didn't shoot. He laid it off to Madueke, and then my steam was kind of bugging, so I didn't really, but Madueke seemed to hesitate, wanted to put in his left foot, didn't work, turned it around, and then lost the ball. I think we might have got a corner still, but didn't do anything with it. I'm like, that was the moment where you should have shot Felix. It was literally basically the same position as you scored from against United. Why not shoot again? But I don't think he did bad. I don't think he did great. I'll just give him a 6 as a sub. Would you go along with that, Adash?
Yeah, I think I would have even given him an NA. I just wasn't too involved, but I mean he had almost the same number of touches as Havertz, and he played half the time. I think just don't really understand the point of the loan in terms of how much we played for him, and Lampard just didn't refuse to play him on a consistent basis. I don't know. I think he still shows glimpses, and he still has the ability to be incredible, but I just don't know if that's the profile and that's the kind of person that we need right now. Yeah, I guess the summer will tell whether this was his last performance as well. I think it likely was.
I mean, bro, if Mount leaves and Felix leaves, I'm like, well, we need another fucking attacker. Like, not in terms of striker, but another attacker, unless the plan is to buy a striker and play Havertz there, which is then a whole different discussion. But if Mount leaves and Felix doesn't stay, I'm like, how many more players do we want to sign? Because, like I say, Damesh said earlier in terms of, keep Chalobah as a useful option. But I'm like, okay, so we're letting go of all the midfielders, half of the attackers, but we're apparently going to sign a striker, a DM, and maybe a goalie. So I'm like, well, yeah, that's not going to fill the fucking squad, is it? We can't go from having a squad way too bloated to not having enough players. Like, I know we're only playing one game next season, but like, I hope Poch can help that and his fitness coaches. But we have to expect to have a lot of injuries again. Because if you do one season, likelihood is you will next season. Oh, I forgot about Nkunku. No, I didn't. But you need a backup. Like, Nkunku can't play every game. I guess it could be Gallagher, but I don't want it to be Gallagher. Do you know what I mean? Is what it is. Batcham, do you agree with the 6 though for what he did off the bench? Or would you go lower than that?
I do. I think he was. I think average suits him here. I think the stat you talked about, where he had the same amount of touches as Havertz in almost half the around half the minutes he played. It just shows that he gets involved, and if he stays, if he doesn't stay, I think it depends on maybe Mount situation. But Joao Felix he always gets involved. He always makes something happen, and that's why he's made. I think a lot of Chelsea fans are on their knees for us to sign him. I myself, I'm quite undecided, but he always makes something happen. He's interesting. He's a very Southern footballer, very Spanish, Portuguese type player. But he always makes something happen. I can respect him for that today as well. I'm pretty annoyed that he didn't go for a goal. I think it might be the situation you're talking about where he passed it to Nani. I would have wished he would have gone for the strike essentially he made against United. So I think a 6 for me, 2 as well. Now, whether we keep him or not, I don't know. I think if we get someone like Nkunku, it's almost as if having a hat on a hat in a sense. I think they do. It's just me that thinks they both play center forward on FIFA.
Hey, it might be really cold outside,
Yeah.
And then you might need a hat on a hat. Hat on a hat, I like that.
Good point. But when we watch him,
or did you just make that up yourself?
It is a Danish impression. Having a hat on a hat.
I love that. I'm going to use that now. Both languages that I use. Fair dues. Let's get to Carney Chukwuemeka. Again, you touched on it earlier, Bertram, in terms of why did he not start again today? Again, did Ruben start next to Enzo? Good. Helps us defensively. But Gallagher needs to stop starting, for fuck's sake. Unless Frank knows that Gallagher staying. Then fair enough. But I still don't want him to. So, but yeah, Carney, honestly, I don't really remember that much. completed all but one pass. Good. But he didn't really do much else. He had 24 touches, to be fair, which is more than Felix, but obviously in midfield. I'll just give him a 6 as well. I don't remember him doing anything bad. Bertram, do you agree? Or is there anything else that you'd want to give him?
For my money, I'd give him an NA. I can't really remember him having that many. I think he had one where I was hoping he'd do something. He had a run from like the left side towards the box, but it didn't really amount to anything.
He had a decent cutback as well once where Felix was then a bit too tight to do anything with it. Him and Nunny
might have had, I think, but I think we're clutching at the smallest of straws.
But then I'm thinking, how many more did Felix have? Felix had even.
Yeah, I give him an NA, but I think these last couple of games have shown me that I think we should keep him for next season, seeing as we have nothing to play for realistically. So, giving him time for our squad, other than I don't know if you want to go into to predictions for next season. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll easily get top 4 next season.
Yeah, I was thinking about obviously your idea. I was just thinking let's wait until we start new streams next week, and then we do predictions for the summer rather than I feel like predictions for next. If we do the last stream of the season in a way, I was like that's kind of contradicted itself also with guests and everything. But I do still love your idea, and I will get on it. Adash, sorry. Agree with an NA, or is there anything you'd want to give Carney?
Yep, NA for me. Didn't have an opportunity rather than he wasn't. I think just didn't have an opportunity to get involved. But
still kind of no fault if we give Carney an NA, by the way, to give Felix one as well, because other than the one-headed chance he didn't really have much more than Chukwuemeka did. But we leave it at that.
More than anything, I would be tempted to give. Ironically, I would have been more happy with giving Kovacic and Pulisic ratings because I think Kova played pretty decent for his first game back, and Pulisic just missed a shocker of a chance, as opposed to Felix.
Pulisic did miss a big chance, but I'm like, he was on the pitch for like 3 minutes. I'm like, it's almost a bit harsh to give him a rating for missing one chance when he's on the pitch for that little. Kovacic did okay, no complaints, but I'm like, I mean, how many touches did he have? Probably more than the others. Yeah, 29 touches. His pass accuracy was worth both Chukwuemeka's and Felix's, so that's not ideal. So yeah, I think we'll just do an NA, and we finish it off with Frank Lampard's rating. Again, why didn't Chukwuemeka start? In my opinion, why didn't Mudryk start? Even though Sterling kind of helped us get that point. Why did Gallagher start? I keep asking that question. And the setup, and to be fair, it did change at halftime to, I guess, make us more solid. I'm going to say 5 because we didn't lose. I'm going to say 5. Adash, what would you give Frank today?
I don't know. I mean, I'm happy this treacherous reign is over. I hope at the end of this, people have the foresight to be able to see Lampard, the player, as still being one of the greatest ever, not just in Chelsea history, but in Premier League history. And yeah, I'm more than anything just glad it's over. He's not been a good manager. I'll give him a 5 as well today. I don't think there's, for example, like for the goal today, I don't think there was anything he could have done himself. It was just players kind of standing still, ball watching, rather than actually being proactive and being in the positions that they should be. Even if Lampard told them to be aggressive, like, you have to know players are running in behind. You have to follow their runs, or else they're going to have an easy tap in. But yeah, just happy his reign is over, and yeah, I'll always love him, no matter what happens now. I'll always love Super Frankie.
Did you agree with the 5? Sorry, I was just typing.
Yeah, I'll give him 5 as well.
Fair. Yeah, I think that is important, but I do need like a few weeks of him being gone again for me to feel that proper love for him as a player and as a legend again, because those last few months have really annoyed me. Pretty much everything he's done has really annoyed me. Everything he said, he contradicted with everything he did. Everything he did was wrong. It just irks me from top to bottom. I can't even explain how much. And in my opinion, I'm being very nice for giving him a 5 today, and it's almost like a thank you. At least the one positive is I'm like, at least we know this will be very most definitely the last time he ever turns up as a manager at Chelsea Football Club. So that's a positive. Bertram, do you agree with the 5? Would you go something different? What do you think?
I'd go an 8. I out of 1,000, I think.
What, 8 out of 1,000, did you say?
Yeah,
I thought you said apes. I was like, what?
For the number he played with, I think you touched upon earlier. I think he's really annoyed me these last couple of weeks. I was very positive of
this one if you want.
Yeah, if we're branching into to emojis, I'd almost go with the meme. The one with Xabi Alonso where he says farewell. With the great background and stuff. I'd almost give him that.
But I can only give him an emoji, not a meme. How am I going to put it there?
I think if you
Just
want,
give him the laughing emoji.
Give him the wave. Give him the wave emoji. For
the wave emoji. Yeah, okay. Let's give him the wave.
I think he was put into a difficult situation. I think almost nobody would be, if you'd given any person almost that you have 9 games. Try and motivate these guys. There's about 100 of them. Try and motivate them to do anything, even though there's nothing to play for. Everyone would struggle. I'd give him a rating of 2 for showing up, to be honest. But I think it's not his fault. I think he did us a favor in taking this job. That being said,
I agree with that, but then
I don't understand his. I don't
really
understand
bad
his
job
choice.
once he did us that favor.
But there must be something. There's no. I can find no reasonable explanation for some of these lineups, like playing Gallagher, for example. You would struggle to find a single Chelsea fan. I almost believe you'd almost struggle to find a single Chelsea fan who would have done that. So there must be a reason for it. But I think Lampard, this almost, I don't hope it for him, but this should signal the end of his managerial career. I think we've seen.
Yeah, I would like him to take that role that Petr Cech had in the old ownership.
Exactly.
But because we have 17 directors now, there's not even really a space for that role anymore now.
No, but I think you touched upon it. His talent ID is top. And remember that summer where we signed. Yeah, but that summer when we signed, like everyone, they all mentioned, I spoke to Frank. Frank, this and that, and the other. Having a character who knows Chelsea, having someone who knows the level around, having someone who represents us. It's all well and good having Joe Shields and these guys, spotting out players, but but if I was gonna sign for Chelsea, if I was gonna sign for Bayern Munich, for example, would I want some guy, some German guy to come up? Okay, fair enough. Or if I was sitting across from like Lothar Matthäus,
you should always be careful if some German guy approaches you.
Exactly, but you see, if you get a club legend who's like, this is going to be good, someone who you've seen grow up, someone who you've idolized, not just a German guy. If a Danish guy approaches, if it was a Danish guy, you'd definitely go for it.
Yeah, if it's a Danish guy, you're all for it, man.
Yeah, we should get Jesper Grønkjær involved. I think that would be good. But the role you're talking about, I think that would be good. But for me, the wave emoji, thank you, Frank. Let's not see you in the dugout ever again. Maybe a charity game in the future.
Yeah, exactly. But in the charity game, you should just play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he'd still be better than some of our midfielders, to be honest. Yeah,
no, absolutely it would be. Absolutely would be. I'll finish it off with this tweet. I know we touched on it at the very beginning, but Matt Law earlier in the day tweeted he understands Mauricio Pochettino has now signed his contract as Chelsea's permanent head coach. I still don't understand why it took us this long, but hey, better late than never, I suppose. Fabrizio said we're expecting an announcement in the next 48 hours, but considering it's May 28th, at this point, are we sure we're not just going to do it June 1st? But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think May 30th to June, May 31st to June changes anything, really. So, like, there's nothing. The season isn't officially over. There's still a cup final. There's still Champions League. There's still the international football going on after. Our contracts with like 3 and whatever, they run till June 30th. So, like, I don't think anything happens on June 1st. So it might be the next 2 days. We might be sat here tomorrow talking about Mauricio Pochettino, guys. But yeah,
I think it's to do with his gardening leave.
Sorry?
I was going to say, I think it's to do with Mauricio Pochettino and his gardening leave when he got sacked from PSG, that the gardening leave expires on the 31st of May. So that's why, in order to not be able to pay them, they have to announce it on June 1st onwards. You are a smart guy, Adash. See, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, June 1st. That might make sense. Sorry, who's slagging me off? He's spinning into the agenda.
Yeah, I just don't like Germans in general. Weirdly, some individual Germans I love. Michael Schumacher, Kai Havertz, Michael Ballack. Love them. And I also have friends that are German who I love. But as a general thing, it's just like Irish and English. It's the same thing. Or Scottish and English. It's just a bit of banter. No one really takes it seriously. We don't actually hate Germans. But yeah, I think Adash, you've made an incredibly good point that gardening leave might make a lot of sense. I didn't actually know that football in gardening leave tends to be this long. I know in Formula One it tends to be. Another depressing day to be a Ferrari fan. Today was a great day, wasn't it? Fucking brilliant. But yeah, the German accent is amazing. My German accent? Don't have one of those, mate. But yeah, regardless, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. That would be fantastic. Bertram said he'll be back in 2 minutes, but to be honest, I don't really know what else we want to talk about. So I think we're about to round it out anyway. Please do follow Bertram on Twitter. Won it twice. One of the best ads, Twitter ads I've seen anyone have. So please do follow him over there. Link is down in the description. Adash doesn't use Twitter, so just say hi and thank you to him. Really, you just met in general, fair play. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. That would be massively appreciated. Subscribe, hit that like button. Really helps me spread these streams out to more people. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.